Hi, it's Mark here. Welcome to Hackathon 2025. I wanted to give you some quick tips on submitting your qualifier video. So remember, the qualifier video is a 6-minute YouTube video that features your idea and your innovation to solve one of the problems within the 5 challenge sets that we have for the food themed hackathon. So in general, here are 5 tips to really help you make it through that stage. I'll tell you, through the agenda, and then I'll have a slide for each one. So first one is be specific. And when I say specific, be specific within a business domain and identification of the stakeholders you're talking about. Number 2, know what you're talking about. So I'll explain what I mean there. Then number 3 is from all the things that you can possibly do or you might need to do within your system that you have in mind, pick the ones that are the most meaningful and that really highlight how you're going to solve the problem. Then there's a demo, like you're expected to have a demo, something that you're going to show us within that 6 minutes and have it be something meaningful. So don't waste your time on things that really don't add a lot of value. And then make a business case for it, albeit just a brief one, a quick one, but make sure people have a feeling that what you're planning on doing is actually feasible. So as far as a domain, what we mean there is have a specific business domain. Ideally, it's something that you can identify as a formal industry sector that might exist in North America, so NAICS code. So for instance, don't say something like, well, it's any business and anywhere and anyone, but rather tell us exactly what kind of business it is. So it's a kebab restaurant, it's a chicken farm, it's a women's shelter, it's a grocery store, right? Not any store, anywhere. Then also be specific about who you're talking about within this business domain. So who on the chicken farm, who in the kebab restaurant. And so it could be specifically a logistics administrator, a person that's in need, a delivery volunteer, a stock clerk, a shopper, a donor, an accountant, a maple syrup harvester. Tell us exactly who the stakeholders are that are experiencing this problem or are part of the solution. Then you have to get to the problem statement. So you tell us what it is that you're trying to solve here. And to really do this well, you have to know what you're talking about. So don't talk about something where you don't have any experience, you don't have adequate knowledge, you haven't done any research on it, etc. Do, on the other hand, if you have experience. Lots of people are telling me, they want to, reduce waste in restaurants. I said, well, have you worked in a restaurant? No. Well, that's a bad sign. So usually, whatever you want to do, you have to understand what you're talking about. So you would say, based on my experience in a part-time job where I was working in a bakery shop, or based on my experience as a volunteer in a food bank, or based on my experience when I was working in the grocery store as a stock person, or based on my experience when I was out on the farm helping out. Those are the kind of things where you have the credibility. And if you don't have any of these, if you're just strictly a student and you don't have domain expertise at all, now you have to listen to the subject matter experts, listen to the people that do know what they're talking about. And remember, we have something like 30 plus different mentors and partners. So listen to them, understand what the problems are that they're expressing and capture those, okay? So the next one is pick a meaningful scenario. So this has to do, a lot of this has to do with actually having good analysis skills and figuring out what requirements are. So there are things, maybe you get taught these in some of the classes you have, or maybe not, but do recognize important events that happen where it's like, because this happened, something needs to now be done. And these events could be random, such as somebody wants to buy something, or temporal, it means, well, because it's midnight or because the store is closed. Or it could be a state event, well, because the inventory went below a certain amount, now we have to do something. So here you want to have meaningful scenarios, something meaningful, and you want to describe it. So an event could be the restaurant manager identifies that we have extra food left over. The food bank is run out of inventory. The user wants to know a recipe that might suit their mood right now. The cook has made some extra meals. So these are things that happen where these are important as part of the scenario that you're trying to tell us about. Be able to articulate what the functional requirements are. So one way or another, whether you were taught this formally in school or not, like you have to be able to articulate the requirements of your system. Very good ways in terms of engineering principles or system design principles is to use things that are called use cases or user stories or scenarios that describe what those functional requirements are. These things always involve verbs. So there's always something that you want to do, and those verbs are important. So you want to update something, you want to pay somebody, you want to create something, you want to read something, you want to deliver something, you want to pick it up, you want to confirm it. Like those are the kinds of things that we want to know about when you're talking about functional requirements. You can do it like a popular way is to use agile methodologies that call them user stories, and as user stories has kind of like a format. It goes as a, and then you describe the stakeholder that I want to, and you describe your goal so that I can, and here you describe your objectives. So there's different ways of doing it. You can research those. You can go to some of the workshops that we offer. Just do it your own way. But one way or another, you have to describe what the requirements are in your system. Often there's different scenarios. So you want to pay for an order. Well, you want to go get something at McDonald's, etc. Well, you can go, like one way to get your orders, go to the drive-thru. You can use the app. You can go to the kiosk. You can do it online. You can talk to the clerk. Or maybe, you made extra food. Well, do you want to sell it? Do you want to donate it? Do you want to share it? So these are different kind of scenarios, and you want to be clear what you're doing here. If you're talking about a donation, if you're talking about sharing something, if you're talking about selling something, if you're talking about putting something up for bid, these are the important distinctions to make. So, don't just talk and blab. Have something, especially models are useful. So if you have some kind of a diagrammatic way of showing it, don't use meaningless words, and don't just talk about how good it's going to be or how it's easy to use or scalable or secure, or industrial or end-to-end or complete, etc. These tend to be sort of meaningless if you can't back it up, or if you aren't talking about at least what the function is that you're trying to make so good. You're going to have to put a demo in there, so you want to demonstrate what you have. It's not a software competition, so nobody's going to go look at your code or analyze code. You don't even have to have code, but you're going to have to put some kind of demo together where something that's meaningful, some scenario that's meaningful, you show us what it is. So, hey, let's go through the scenario of a recipe recommendation. Hey, let's go through the scenario where you recognize a photo of something, or what sort of tree this species is, or hey, let's go through a scenario where we're going to take a picture of some food and classify it according to different categories. Hey, let's go through this scenario where you make a posting of something in your community. So pick the scenarios that are useful. When you make these scenarios in the demo, usually you want to use about half the time, so maybe 3 minutes, where you're actually creating a demonstration. Make sure I understand who the actor is, like who the stakeholder is that is involved in this. So you would say something like, pretend right now I'm the donor and I want to go make a donation. And then you show me what they're actually going to see. So, hey, I'm the donor and I want to make a donation. And here I go, I'm going to go onto my app, and then you show me what the user interface is like. Go through this scenario and bring it to a conclusion. So don't just put bits and pieces of different scenarios, because they're going to get lost. So stick to one, and we call it a storyboard if you want. So you go through the different actions or activities that are involved as you go through this process. Don't just use PowerPoints, aren't going to do it here for you. You're going to have some kind of a demo. Don't waste time. A lot of people waste time in their demos showing things that really aren't that consequential, especially things like, okay, I'm signing up and I forgot my password and now I want to change my password. These kinds of things, you might need to do them in your system, yes, and it's nice, and bravo, good for you. It's good code, but it has very little to do with the problem that you're trying to solve in terms of the food challenge that you took on. And make sure you follow your train of thought. Finally, at the end of this, you do want to have a little bit of a business case. Now, the business case is going to get more serious if you go to the finale, but the idea here is that what you're showing us is something that actually is feasible. So kind of wrap it up with call it business case if you want, or call it feasibility. The people are, is this thing actually something that is feasible? Would this thing actually work in real life? And so you do want to address, You only need to do it with a slide or a couple of quick statements. But is this technically feasible, what you're trying to do? Do you have the necessary skills, or can you develop them? So especially if you start, talking about things like AI and machine learning and blockchain, etc. So yeah, do we really have a feeling that you know what you're talking about here and that you have the chops to use this technology? Or is this technology that you're saying even feasible for this kind of a problem? Think about also when you want to deploy this system, how will this actually work in real life? Like, how would it be maintained? Think also of what they call economic feasibility. So that's kind of like business case. So who's going to pay for this? What kind of return on investment will they get? You don't have to go through the complete business case. You just want to show that you've thought about it. You have some ideas of, who's going to pay for this and what my return on investment would be. You also might want to think of scheduling. Typically a thing people do, and we know it's a hackathon, so we know you only have a couple of days to do this. So typically you want to show them something that is concrete, something that is meaningful, but then you have all these other things that popped into mind that you'd like to add later on. So typically a thing would be, we didn't have enough time in the hackathon to put all these features in place, but in a future release, we would do this, and then the release after that, we do the following 3 things, etc. So putting a schedule in place to see how this would actually evolve and get out in the marketplace is a good idea. So don't ignore the business case and create something that's just absolute fantasy. And it's also a good idea, especially once you get to the finale, to demonstrate that you've learned something through this exercise. So don't forget to put a couple of words in there about maybe what you've learned. And also don't forget, sometimes it's really appropriate to acknowledge where you got some of the information here from, to acknowledge your sources. I'm not talking so much about maybe plagiarism thing, but I'm talking about getting more credibility in your proposal if you acknowledge where some of your sources are, or maybe who supported you to get to this point. Okay, so just some quick tips. Thank you very much.